Hello, welcome back to Crypto Mischief. Richie here with yet again another video on my favorite thing in the entire world, crypto goddamn currency. That's right. We're looking at charged DeFi.fi today, link in the description, and we're going to be talking about two things. The fact that it has now recovered peg. If you don't know what that means, watch this video up here where I explain the entirety of the protocol for you so you can use it. And it has also done a bit of a report on what happened. Because I made a video on Charge. I don't know if you watched it. It was 5 days ago. This video, luck of the Scottish. 2 hours after I put this video out, there was a huge problem with Charge. They had some vaults and the vaults were compromised and a lot of Charge was drained out of them. Meaning that, of course, this happened to the price of Static, the token that's supposed to be pegged to the price of the dollar, did a massive dump, a huge dump, all the way down to 60 cents. But today, when I checked to buy some more bonds, I noticed that actually it has recovered to $1.30. That is the action of the bonding system working away. It's now recovered peg, and they've also come up with a pretty good compensation platform for everyone who was affected by the vault exploit. What we're going to do is I'm going to show you my plan for Charge in the short term, and I'm going to show you a very interesting kind of examination, report, investigation into what happened with this exploit. And pretty good report, and it really stands in good stead for how great this development team is, how seriously they take everything, and how well organized they are. That's why I'm going to be continuing to talk about this, as I think for the short term and midterm future, this is going to be a real winner. So let's get into it. Charge. At the moment, we're paying out 5.7% daily in the Boardroom. In the Boardroom, I have 2.6 Charge in this wallet. I'm going to keep this here because I still think it's very undervalued at its price. The current price of Charge is $246, a nice pump of 112% pump today because it recovered peg. I do expect it to get back to where it was, about $600 to $800 Charge is my aim. Then, I'm quite happy. I might take a little bit profit. I might just continue farming with it, because what I can do by staking it in the Boardroom, what I can do is I can claim static token. For example, here I have $7 because the epoch paid out by epoch is just gotten above peg today, so I'm waiting for the next epoch, which will be in 3 hours, and I will get a lot more Charge after that 3 hours. I'll get a lot more static, for that 3 hours. Static is the token that's pegged to the dollar. So my plan actually is we can take the option here of farms, right? So I do have a tiny bit in here, but I'm not going to be putting into this pool either today. The Charge BUSD, this is manual. I'm actually going to be going into their new compound farms, which are just based on Beefy, because I use Beefy for a lot of things. And of course, I'm not saying that Beefy are completely exploit proof, but I'm going to be risking my biscuit because look at these god damn APYs. 2.5% daily on your liquidity of Charge and BUSD here. Wow. Okay. And Charge being, like I said, a token which I expect to recover now that Static has found peg. Worst case scenario, Static fails to find peg, drops back down to 80 cents or 60 cents once again. The price of Charge in response will also drop, because Charge is only really useful at the moment if Static is above peg, to be honest. So that's the big risk we have there. The way that everyone should be reacting, right, without fear or confusion, whenever Static does go below peg, because it will again, is just go into the pulse section, right? Take whatever Static you have, or break up some of your liquidity, right? You could go into the farm section, break your Static BUSD, sell it all into Static, then go into the pulse section and buy up as much pulse as you can on this right hand side with your Static, right? Buy up as much as you can, because what happens after that is when you're buying it, it's helping to push the price of Static back above the dollar. The further then that Static goes above the dollar, when you sell your pulse back into Static, you will make more profit. So you could wait a little bit and get a higher price above. You're right now you're thinking, 1.2 above, 1.3 above, maybe 1.4 above. Then you'd sell it, and then you make unbelievable profit on what you have just purchased. So that's the way that I like to play with the bond system on these 3 token dApps. Getting into this pool then, we need to approve, and I'm going to go in this one. So what you can do here on Beefy, you don't actually need to create liquidity pairs on Beefy Finance for Charge BUSD. You can just purchase it. So here I have some BUSD, right? I'm just going to take all that, what's that, like $1,200, 1262, right? And I'll just deposit that into the liquidity of Charge BUSD, and it will also stake it to me, and it will also stake it for 2.5% daily. Juicy APRs. And because this is being held in Beefy Finance, I'm quite confident that it's safe, which is important these days because we're going to read about the importance of safety very soon. All right, we're in. So that's us sitting there now with $1,300 worth of liquidity here with the Charge BUSD. Again, my plan, hopefully, let's see, I could get wrecked. You never know. Don't get wrecked. Yeah, hopefully the Charge will recover back up to its price of about $500, meaning that my liquidity pair is not only auto compounding with ferocity at 2% daily, but also it's going to be raising up in value, and I should be able to bank serious gains out of this if all goes to plan. High risk, high reward, risk it for the biscuit. Of course, I'm not risking my entire portfolio here. I'm putting in a sizable amount, $1,000, but at the same time, if everything goes wrong, if I lose everything, I will not be going to anyone crying because, you know what, that's DeFi life, okay? High risk, high reward sometimes. Moving on into the Charge DeFi security incident, we're going to read through this because this is very, very interesting. Like and subscribe if you like interesting, juicy gossip, okay? Charge thought the vaults were simple, so they decided to look around for somewhere that they could fork or copy. They found grim.finance, and they have the 60/40 auto compounding vaults for Tomb, and they were audited by Solidity Finance. In particular, the audit report states that they were protected by re-entrancy. Placing trust outside of Charge and bypassing their usual security processes and standards of only using Certic is the fundamental mistake we made that led to the exploit within Charge. We should never have relied upon Grim or Solidity Finance's audit report. After the exploit, our devs looked at the vaults further and found them to be containing several security issues, littered with them. Within this report, we include our timings of notifying Grim Finance. So here's the summary. This is what's really interesting, right? So the security incident happened at 7 in the morning. Then the core team were notified, 10 minutes later. First response, 10 minutes after that. Official communication, exactly the same time. The exploit was stopped within under an hour of it happening. Then they notified the agencies. Then they finished analysis 1 hour and 38 minutes after everything had just kicked off. And they thought, okay. Half an hour later, they thought we need to analyze Grim's vaults because we forked Grim for this. And then they realized, oh no. They notified Grim Finance and said, I think your vaults are faulty. They started the compensation plan. They notified Tomb Finance. They made a second attempt to notify Grim Finance. They notified Beefy Finance. All was in vain because 6 hours after they'd had a second attempt at notifying Grim and had been ignored, their Grim vaults were exploited and $30 million was stolen. So now there is a compensation pool which has been completed for paying back everyone who lost money with Charge DeFi on their auto vaults, and the compensation airdrop has been completed. So now they're at the end of this, and now they just have to have the self-reflection of what they did wrong and how to better improve on it, which I really appreciate this Medium post. I'll post it in the description so that you can read through it in detail. And this is what's made me get heavier into this protocol, because they took it on the chin and owned every ounce of responsibility for making the mistake of many mistakes that they made for this exploit to happen. So this part, shortly after, contact was made with Grim informing them about the issue. We gave details about the exploit, explained that we had suffered an exploit, suggested they pause their vaults and pass details on to their devs. Both deposit for and withdraw had no re-entrance guards in their code at their site. This was not just for the 60/40 vaults, but all of Grim vaults. The response from Grim was that it's closed source. There's no risk. We tried to convince them, but with no success. Even the Charge DeFi contact was kicked from the Grim Discord. An hour later, they got back in contact with Grim and asked if they'd taken action. Again, they were told they didn't have any risk and that their code was closed source. So, Charge decided to get in touch with Tomb Finance, who were actually using this 60/40 vaults on Grim, they contacted Tomb Finance to ask for help in contacting Grim Finance. And the mod immediately responded and took the situation very seriously. Good boys, Tomb. There was no known issue at Tomb Finance, only at Grim Finance, but Tomb's assets would be affected by the Grim vaults if they were exploited. So Tomb then confirmed that they were in touch with Grim and were helping Grim look at the code. Then Tomb reached out, asking for more information. Screenshots and further details, including the line number, was shared with Tomb Finance to relay to Grim Finance. Then, hours later, we contacted Tomb again because Grim were still not responding, asking if Grim Finance had found the issue. Remember, because Grim had kicked them out of their Discord. And the first signs then of the exploit happening, what's going on. Tomb Finance confirmed they did indeed contact the Grim devs. They showed them the developer information, the transaction details of the exploit, but still Grim did nothing. So of course, I embellished a lot of that with my own opinion. This is actually a pretty impartial report of just what they did and what happened. They don't actually have any opinion on Grim, on what happened, okay? Of course, they have a shining, reflection on Tomb Finance from this. But in terms of Grim, will I be staking my funds in Grim again in the future? I'm not quite sure about that. But I like the honesty that they've put forth here, and that's why I'm in charge further. So that is Charge. As we can see here from the price of Charge, I'm going to keep a keen eye on this, and hopefully that is a return to a pump back to action for Charge. Very, very risky time to purchase the token, but why not buy the blood? If you want to see the kind of trading I've been doing on Charge DeFi, we have 3 purchases here. I purchased near the top of this peak on the 16th of December, which would be just before I made the video, okay, then the exploit. I purchased again a couple days later, 2 days later, and I held, and I just purchased again here. It comes up as a sell, but that's just when I purchased there. I didn't sell, I bought more. So that's me 3 times purchasing Charge now. So let's see if it will bounce all the way back to all-time highs. Peace. Don't get wrecked.